This scarf was given to me by one of my students. And actually at the Senate hearing, I wore a scarf that was given to me by a student. And I wear them around my neck. So that was actually perfect, Colin, because I wanted to start with a quote by a great educator and civil rights leader, Bell Hooks, as to the reason why I got into education. To educate as the practice of freedom is a way of teaching that anyone can learn. That learning process comes easiest to us who teach and also believe that it is an aspect of our vocation that is sacred, who believes that our work is not merely to share information, but to share in the intellectual and spiritual growth of our students. To teach in a manner that respects and cares for the souls of our students, it's my favorite part, is essential if we are to provide the necessary conditions where learning can most deeply and intimately begin. So I want to start, and some of the students in here might be able to relate, but I think we can all relate, to a time when you had like a book circle or a literary circle and you were reading a common text with some other students. So I want you to imagine that you're sitting there and you've been reading Charlotte's Web. So I actually did this recently with a group of students, and we were doing some character analysis, right? We were analyzing Charlotte. Charlotte described who she is, right? She represents, unconditional friendship, right? Now let's talk about Templeton the rat. Describe him. He's selfish, one of the kids said, right? He won't do anything unless he has something in it for him, right? So I took it to the next step, and I said, well, who do these characters remind you of, right? Making text-to-world connections or text-to-text connections. And in my head, I can think of a bunch of people that Templeton kind of reminds me of, right? But now, what's interesting is, just out of curiosity, I looked at some of the sample excerpts that would be coming on the Common Core ELA test. And one of them had Charlotte's Web, an excerpt from Charlotte's Web. Some of the teachers in here may know. I think it was a 4th or 5th grade excerpt. And then I was like, oh, that's interesting, quite intriguing. And so I looked at the questions and noticed that the multiple choice questions, I looked at the distractors, right? They always have the distractors. And it was interesting because I'd heard my students reference many of these ideas, and I had asked them to support their ideas using evidence from the text or from their own understandings of the text, yet there they were, A, B, C, and D. All of them could have been possible answers. So then what message was I sending them in the classroom, and then what message was this test sending them? That's just a small example, and I don't even want to get into the math. We teach concept understanding, conceptual understandings. Why do the standard algorithms work, right? But to test them on their conceptual understandings, that's ridiculous to me. If a child understands the standard algorithms, let them understand it that way. Why do we have to test every single piece of step, right? So, everything I do, I constantly bring it back and think about it, a very, explicit moment that I have, with my students. By Common Core standards, rich literacy discussions like these are less valuable, right? And I kept having these existential questions. Why? Right? Why? And I was like, I need an answer. And interestingly enough, I came across this article, and somebody who's an educator actually gave to me Class Action, right? A teacher's handbook by the Jacobin. And the very first article in here is called Lean Production. And I said, what's lean production doing here in a book by educators? Well, this is exactly the model that has been put in, that industrial age kind of system, and just by the name of it, you can tell what it is. It's stress by management. And teachers, you know what I'm talking about. Your work has become these special meetings, right, to create the rubrics that will then evaluate you. Or, all these other meetings when you would like to be collaborating with your colleagues around the curriculum, around other things. That's a part of it. Another part of lean production is the value-added model, right? Efficiency has to be measured. How do you measure it? You use test scores, right? So these value-added models are part of this lean production model. of business. And it's all like, you stress the situation, and then part of this is the goal of lean production is to stress the system to find the link. So you want to find the weak links so that you can then stress it again and restructure. And what happens as a consequence? It's catastrophic. You're losing teachers who've been working for years, who no longer identify the profession that they'd gone into. That's where the point came for me when I said, this is not what I signed up for. It was very clear. This process of ranking and sorting distorts the work and purpose of true education. And it was a moment of clarity. As a parent of then, when it all started, he was in 3rd grade, I said, no, I've had enough. No, you're not taking the test. He's like, but I'm going to get in trouble. But no.
I was
yeah, teacher. I said, no, you're not. You're doing the right thing. And then we were like the only people who were talking about it. Nothing happened. 4th and 5th grade, he opted out. The numbers grew at our school. He attended the school that I went to. He's now in 6th grade and will continue to refuse to take these tests. By complying to a set of policies that would enforce a business model that doesn't even work in the business world, okay? And check out the Wall Street Journal. I've been reading about it. It doesn't even work there. That is designed to rank and sort is to deny the very purpose of our profession. It is why I exercise what little power I have as a public school teacher and as a parent, and there's a reason why I refuse. The little power that you have is in the refusal. Last year at my school, we had just over 50% of refusal, and everyone was like, what happened? Did the sky fall? Did you lose funding? No. But I'll tell you what, schools that have continued to comply to this have had unspeakable consequences happen to them, right? For me, the consequences for not speaking out are greater than if we don't, not just for our individual children, but for our communities and society. So please, choose to refuse. Thank you.